Dan and Corey here, welcoming you in to Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Welcome in to another rousing edition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. We've got Bell, the Bodysnatcher, on the ones and twos. If his internet works,
hi Bell.
He is always his Corey Walsh.
He's here. Dan Griffin.
Bell's a little bit delayed tonight.
Oh, we both hit it at the same time.
We played it at the same time.
That's a shame.
Bell, you there? Come in, Bell.
No?
Hi, guys.
That joke didn't play out as well as I thought.
No, I
Bell's
let it
got
sit
shitty
for a
internet.
minute. I've shot long. I make doesn't matter.
For some reason, when I hit these buttons, there's like a 30-second delay.
Dude, our show, I swear to God, is the personification of a dad joke. Like that's just what our show is. It's just nothing hits.
That's what we should change the name to. Just Dad Jokes Are Us.
Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're not gonna talk so much about Israel here this week. I feel like everything that's been said has been said, and everyone on both sides of this issue. Oh my God, you're invoking both sides. Yeah, so what? I don't give a fucking care. Sometimes it applies. It's just become unbelievably unhinged at this point. Nobody wants to wait for any actual news to come out. Nobody wants to wait for the fog of war to clear. And, if you think that Palestinian lives matter, you're an anti-Semite. And if you think that Israeli lives matter, you're an Islamophobe. So everybody loses in this situation. I don't understand why we keep doing this.
There's a lot of people out there that are way smarter than us that have articulated their thoughts on this way more eloquently than we ever could. And there's a lot of really smart people out there that are sounding way dumber on this topic than we ever could.
And people we respect.
Yeah. Ultimately, I don't like seeing innocent people killed.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
One side is committing a bunch of atrocities and the other side's committing a bunch of atrocities. And I think that a side sucks. Their government sucks, and you could cheer on what I'm saying or be pissed off depending on who you think I'm talking about, because that goes.
Well, we could talk about this fun narrative just quickly, just so we can make fun of it a little bit, because let's make some light out of a horrible situation and human beings dying, which is not what we're trying to do, but that's what we're going to get accused of anyway. So I might as well throw it out there before it actually happens. This idea that there is no moral equivalence because one side wants the other side dead. You like this one? You like this narrative that people throw out there?
You could leave it at that, and then depending on how people feel, they would just assume you're talking about one side or the other.
Yeah, depending on which side you fall on, right? So you're seeing that a little bit more from the pro-Israel people, because they just have a little bit bigger of a voice, and it's like, you know what? This idea that one side wants the other side dead and the other side is the good guys, it's absolute nonsense, because there's a huge difference here, right? So Hamas uses, they're primitive as fuck, right? So they just sling rockets into the air trying to kill as many Israelis as they possibly can in typical terrorist fashion, right? Horrible, awful. It's easy to look at. You can see it. It's right in front of you. But there's also the argument that the Israelis want the Palestinians gone, and they use a lot more 21st century techniques, I guess you could say. They're a little bit more sophisticated in the way that they want to conduct their genocide.
You mean they just do it with a monocle?
Yeah, they do it by, I don't know. They do it. Yeah, they're like the fucking Monopoly man.
Yeah, they have a top hat on when they do it.
Yeah, the Monopoly man of the Middle East. And it's like
goes wherever and it kills Israelites. Our bomb goes where we want it and we kill Palestinians. We're sophisticated.
Israelites is a biblical term, Corey. I think they're referred to as Israelis in the 21st century.
Okay. You can label them whatever you want. They're both trying to kill each other. And
yeah, one side wants the other side dead.
And the kids on both sides are being brought up to hate the other side, and it's just going to perpetuate the nonsense that we see over there. And it's nonsense. It's nonsense that lives are being lost because of failed diplomacy, failed policy, and failed leadership on either end of the spectrum of Semitism to anti-Semitism or Islamism to xenophobia.
Yeah, you've got Hamas. You've got Hamas slinging rockets, and then you've got audio of I don't know if there's audio, but documentation of Netanyahu back in 2019 saying that if we want to avoid a Palestinian state, we have to prop up Hamas.
Yeah, because isn't it so Gaza is Hamas, but isn't the West Bank like a different sect of an Arab leader, Fatullah or something like that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because there's the West Bank, and then there's the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm.
Both are areas that are being heavily settled.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yes. Hamas was elected as leadership, whether or not legitimately or not legitimately in Gaza.
Yeah. And Netanyahu wanted them to be there because it creates a division in the Palestinian leadership.
Right. And then they could focus on settling in the West Bank. It's like, dude, Israelis want the Palestinians removed from their land. Like, I don't think that you can possibly fucking deny that. Does that mean that it's okay for terrorists to? I thought we said we weren't going to talk about this, but then I started going off. Is that okay? Does that make it okay for Hamas to be slinging rockets around and killing innocent Israelis? Of course it doesn't.
And Palestinians.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, because a lot of those rockets don't make it where they're supposed to go. And what's funny is we talked about it last week. Like, we still don't know who blew up that hospital. Like, we still have no idea who actually blew up that hospital.
Yeah, the split of Fatah is the Palestinian government in the West Bank. Bell just hopped into the private chat and said that. Yeah, I was close.
Yeah,
but I don't. I'm not all of a sudden a Twitter expert on Israeli-Palestinian relationships like everyone on Twitter is.
I'm so sick of the narrative. Like, really smart people that we respect. One side wants the other side dead. It's like, isn't that how war works?
It's propaganda. They're shutting people down who are finding nuance in this that are like, no, I don't want anyone to die. It's fucking bullshit that people are over there killing each other. Like, get along to go along. Like, I don't know. Like, the fuck, man.
I can't.
You're all over there on your high horses on either side, thinking you're right and the other side's wrong, and you can believe that, but like, you're over there just fucking murdering innocent people on either side over this grudge match of like what, pride, egos, and some religious birthright that someone stole from the other person over a bowl of soup thousands of years ago.
I wish I could remember where I heard this. So I apologize to whomever was the journalist that brought this to my purview, but it was a story about a Palestinian in Gaza who was he's an engineering major or a tech. He was a tech guy. He was a tech guy, really good tech guy in Gaza, and like his dream was to go to one of the biggest tech hubs in the world, which I don't know how many people actually know this, but Tel Aviv is an incredible tech hub. It brought us Waze. Waze is fucking Israeli. It came out of Tel Aviv. So if you use Waze, that is an Israeli grown thing. And all he wants to do is go to Tel Aviv.
Oh, man, I heard this story too.
He just wants the shit to stop.
It wasn't on Breaking Points, was it? It wasn't Fifth Column.
No, we must have been.
It might have been on Dave Smith.
It might have been. Oh, you're right. You know what? It was Glenn Greenwald. It was Glenn Greenwald. Yes, thank you. Let's give credit to Glenn Greenwald on that reporting. But it's like,
Yeah,
I know
talk
this
about
isn't-
like imagine living across the bay from New York or across the bay in San Francisco, knowing that that's the tech hub and that's where you want a job, but you just can't go over there.
you're
You
not
don't
allowed
even
to.
cross the bridge.
You're not allowed to be there. And
Yeah.
it's like, you've got pro-Israelis making excuses for fucking war crimes, shutting off the water to Gaza. Oh, well, if the Gazans had just elected somebody besides Hamas that could have built up infrastructure.
Which is absolute bullshit, dude. They haven't even held an election since what, 2005?
Yeah, whatever it was.
So let's think about this, right? So Gaza, the average age there is like what, like 24 or something like that. Like
it's a very young place. Yes.
Very, very young population. None of them were even at voting age when Hamas got put into power.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't been able to vote since.
And
so
it's not hard to see.
Shit. Well, they voted them in. Give me a break.
It's not hard to see that it is a fucking war crime when you're cutting off resources to civilians. And that's what the Israelis are doing.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know. I think it's weird because I think we're sounding more.
And this is why it's so, to me, where it's like, it's at this point where it's like, just, it's a fucking conundrum. It's a quagmire, right? Because I could sit here and make a decent argument for either side of what they've gotten themselves into today. But
you're a fence sitter, Corey Walsh. You're
tit
just
for
a
tat
dirty
back
fence
and forth.
sitter.
Yeah, okay, you know what? And that fence is 100 miles high, and I'm sitting down looking at the mess on either side of it and going, I'm not gonna stand and put all my chips in the basket on either side of it. So yeah, call me a fence sitter. I don't give a shit.
Nice 30,000-foot view reference, Corey. I dig it.
Yeah, exactly. Call me a fence sitter because I'm looking at both sides and both of them are no one's hands are clean in any of this.
You want me to give you a fun unhinged tweet and then we can move on?
Yeah.
So Antonio Guterres tweets, the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the horrific attacks by Hamas. The horrendous attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, it's not done in good faith because it's Antonio Guterres, but whatever.
He should have just ended it right there. That would have been a decent tweet.
No, that was it. That was the tweet.
Oh.
Ben Shapiro decides he wants to retweet it and says, "You are a moral disgrace." But that's no shock, since the UN is a flaming garbage heap of an organization that acts as a mouthpiece for many of the worst regimes on the planet. Here's the thing. Ben, for the most part in that tweet, he's not wrong. I actually don't disagree with that sentiment. Here's the problem I have. Ben Shapiro is supposed to be a really smart, well thought out conservative thinker, right? This is an ad hominem fucking attack on Antonio Guterres' tweet. I never took Ben Shapiro for an ad hom straw man kind of guy, but it just shows you that even people that, if you've listened to this show long enough, I am not a fan of Ben Shapiro. I don't think anybody on this show is, but I don't think he's an idiot. And I do think occasionally he makes a decent point. I've never taken him as the kind of person that would engage in ad hominem attacks like this. And it just goes to show you how stupid war makes people. I get it. Ben Shapiro, he's an Orthodox Jew. I get it. I get why he's pro-Israeli. I get why people like Barry Weiss, who I'm having more issues with lately with the way that she's reporting on this. She's a Jew. She's pro-Israeli. I understand. I get it. But it's really, really frustrating seeing intelligent human beings losing their fucking shit over war and not learning from what we all saw back in the early 2000s with 9/11. They're using the same fucking playbook.
And that's interesting you say that, right? Because Biden has actually been saying that recently. That's one of his rhetorics is don't do to yourselves what we did after 9/11 to ourselves.
Honestly,
have you heard any of that from him?
Yeah, honestly,
it's the most clairvoyant thing I think he's said since he's been president.
Not a big fan of Joe Biden either. I think he's been pretty okay on this so far. My only issue, at least what's coming out of his mouth. Now, what
20
is
billion
actually,
to Israel and then 100 million to Palestine.
exactly.
I did the math on it.
His actions are different.
It's like $100 a Palestinian. Sorry for blowing up your house. Here's $100 bill. It's crisp.
Well, I mean, $100 bill might go a long way in Gaza, but still.
What are they going to buy, Dan? They're not allowed to even get anything.
What makes me fearful is the rhetoric that's going on around Israel and not understanding what we're looking at here, right? Because we're putting naval ships in around Israel. You have Janet Yellen getting on fucking, I don't remember what the hell that stupid show was. I actually thought I had the video, but maybe I don't anymore. She's out here talking about how the West can definitely afford to support two wars that we're not even fucking directly involved in, while we're $33 trillion in the fucking hole, and Americans are struggling day in and day out, talking about how the American economy is in great shape, and there's just all of these puzzle pieces going in. One second, Corey. There's all of these puzzle pieces that seem to be putting into place to justify another war in the Middle East. I really hope that doesn't happen. I am praying to the God that I don't necessarily believe in that is not going to take place, but this just seems like it is setting up right now to justify a war with Iran. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and isn't that funny how they're about to pass that bill that gives like billions of dollars to both Ukraine and Israel, because now it's appeasing the right and the left.
It's almost like this weird thing where it's like World War III is just going to be fought with money now. Like, we're just going to fight it with money. We're not going to send people.
Like, for example, Occupy Democrats.
Oh, God.
New in a shocking move, Mitch McConnell has come out in support for President Biden's aid package to Ukraine and Israel. This is huge because Republicans are incredibly divided on the issue.
No, they're not.
President Biden is proving once again to be a bipartisan leader.
But isn't that bad? Like go back to 2 months ago.
I shared it on our Facebook page or on our Instagram, and I was like, well, of course, the military-industrial complex always brings out bipartisanship. Thanks for putting that out so well, putting that out so eloquently, Occupy Democrats.
What's so interesting about that is, like, this is how you know that, like, idiotic pages like Occupy Democrats are bullshit, because if it had been about any other issue, if it had been about, like, Mitch McConnell coming to the table on anything else, it would have been this whole, how could Democrats possibly work with this horrible human being?
Right.
I can't.
Which reminds me, we just started going on this tangent, but the Assertive Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our
housekeeping, thank you, Corey.
Show.com. We can be found at Libsertive on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, Instagram and Twitter at LibsertivePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libsertive Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libsertivepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
One side wants the other side dead. Wow, that could actually apply to American.
Which side are you on?
That could actually apply to American politics.
Yeah. The moral, not the moral, but the just the monotonous simplicity of our red versus blue politics here just bleeds into every other scope of American exceptionalism when we view any sort of foreign atrocity happening in the world. One side good, one side bad. That's bad. It. All right. Oh, glad I got that figured out. Let me get back to my 80-hour work week.
Yeah, and my video games and whatever else distracts me from actual meaning in life.
Okay, Sagar and Jetty.
What?
Does he say that? Sagar. I think, isn't he the one that's like always dogs video games?
No, and I like video games.
Doesn't Jordan Peterson dog video games all the time too?
Oh, it's not immediately clear to me that video games are good for the human mind.
Instant gratification will fog their actual, I don't know.
Or they're just games. or they're just games, like every other thing,
Yeah.
everything that's a game.
And that's so
You-
funny. People be like, "Oh, video games are so fucking stupid." Then they'll go and put together spend hours putting together a stupid ass puzzle.
Yeah, not to mention video games have been proven to be able to make people a lot of money. Pro gaming leagues are no joke out there. I don't watch it, but it is what it is. You want to talk about liberals and conservatives both not having essentially any principles? Liberals going conservative and conservatives going further conservative?
The left moves right and the right moves righter.
That has been the case in this country, I would say, at least since Reagan. Wouldn't you agree? Like, so I'll set it up by saying this. There's this weird fucking idea that like Democrats are associated with socialism, and like there are certain ways in which they're portrayed that way, right? Like if you listen to AOC for 5 minutes, first of all, you'll want to stick a fucking
like
knife through your face.
2016 AOC or
Either way, we found out she's full of shit. But there's this, like, this is what makes me so, this is one of the things that is my biggest pet peeve with conservatives when they want to come out and say that like the Democratic Party somehow supports socialism. Like, what world are you actually living in? The Democrats are at best, center right at best. And Republicans are fucking way to the right. Like our entire political system is to the right. So this idea that, you know, Democrats are socialists, they might portray themselves that way
to get the
votes. to get the, you know, the college kid, right, who thinks that socialism or communism is good.
101 yet.
Yeah, exactly. Who hasn't, you know, bothered to read Thomas Sowell for even 2 seconds. Yeah,
there's another good one, economics in one lesson.
Yeah, so anyway, go ahead, Corey. The left moves to the right and the right moves further right. That is the trajectory that this country has been on since Ronald Reagan. Don't let anybody tell you anything less.
So I have 4 examples, 2 from each side, right? Meanwhile,
I'm going to pour a bourbon.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. So what I've realized, let me set this up a little bit. In a short stint of, well, actually not short of, damn near almost 10 years now, just like kind of following politics religiously, is both sides like to use not necessarily straw men, but like try to take the moral high ground on issues. Like, for example, for the past, since 2016, when Trump started wanting to build his border wall, all of these cities that were thousands and thousands and like not thousands and thousands and thousands, but thousands of miles away from the border, were all like, when Trump was cracking down on the border, they were like, well, you know what? We're a sanctuary city. And what we're going to do is, if any of these refugees come here, we will welcome them with open arms. And so the border cities the border states called their bluff and started shipping them out there. And then all of a sudden they realize they get just a small taste of like what exactly is happening on the border. And now all of a sudden they're calling it an atrocity of what's happening in their cities.
So yeah, speaking of, let me just interject for a second. So speaking of Thomas Sowell, what's one of his most famous quotes?
There are no solutions, just trade-offs. Yeah.
Yes. And this is what everybody seems to miss. So when you sit there and you say, I'm a sanctuary city, it sounds good, right? Like let's give all these, you know, give me your huddled masses, you know,
but what you're trading off is your budget, your tax dollars,
places to put these people.
There's only a finite amount of places to put them.
Morally, it's like, okay, look, there are immigrants here. All they want to do is work. All they want to do is live the American dream, like all the rest of us want to try to do. And like, you can have a decent amount of respect for that. But when you just blindly go, all right, we're going to give them a place to stay, and we're actually going to change our constitution, which I think is going to be one of the examples you're about to give, Corey. When we're going to change our state constitution to make it so that undocumented immigrants can just come here and we have to house them. And then you don't tackle the actual issue, which is the fact that it's illegal for them to work. What are you supposed to do next? And that is an issue of not realizing second, third, fourth, and fifth order consequences of the thing that you think is morally good.
Yeah, so in New York right now, New York has the right to shelter law. It was put into place in I don't have the date written down, but 1981. So the right to shelter law in New York is a mandate that requires the city provide shelter to all homeless people who seek it. It was established by a consent decree in 1981 after a lawsuit by the Coalition for the Homeless. The law has been expanded over the years to include women, children, and other groups. However, the law has also faced some challenges and criticisms. Recently, Mayor Eric Adams proposed some changes to the law in response to the influx of asylum seekers who have strained the city's shelter system. He wants the city to be relieved of its right to shelter obligations during emergencies that cause a surge in demand for shelter, such as the migrant crisis. He argues that the law was not meant to shelter the world at large, and that the city needs more flexibility and resources to deal with the situation. The proposal has sparked some controversy and opposition from other city officials, advocates, and homeless people. They claim that the proposal would undermine the right to shelter and harm the most vulnerable people in the city. They also question the legality and effectiveness of the proposal and suggest that the city should focus more on providing permanent housing solutions instead of temporary shelters. And I just thought,
let them work. Figure
this
out
is
a
what
way
happens
to let them work.
When the chickens come home to roost, right? Like you could sit there and like platitudes and different things like that. You could say whatever you want to make yourself look like the moral supremacist in the situation.
Oh, I like that. Moral supremacist. I like that.
Yeah, right there.
I'm gonna
jot that one down. Make a note of that.
I'm going to start using that as a disparaging
Moral
term.
supremacy.
Also,
yeah, in this moral supremacy.
We lost Bell for a minute. Is Bell back? It's working.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so like it's just so annoying that like instead of these, I mean, I know it's just a city, right? It's not like any sort of actual legislative body that has any sort of influence on actual policy being created for the whole country or for the country as a whole. But in the sense it kind of does, right? Like these guys spent 5-6 years just talking about, well, I sure wouldn't treat immigrants in my city the way that they are on the border. If they come here, they're welcome. And then they kept saying it and kept saying it. And then all of a sudden,
and people found out.
And they found out that, guess what? Their moral views are just as malleable as anyone on the southern border.
What I mean is, so families would get to the border, they would get shipped to these sanctuary cities, and then what would they do? Like, hey, we're welcome here. They would call their fucking family that wasn't there yet, and which makes complete sense. Like, I would probably do the same thing. If I was
I'm not a moral supremacist. If I was in a city, if I was in a city in a third world ass country, and there's a cartel running around and they're fucking killing people, and then they come to my family and they go, your son has to fight for us or you're all gonna die. You best believe in the dead of night I'm gonna round up my kids and try to get into a country that's safer.
Mm-hmm. And then they get to New York or whatever the sanctuary city is, and they go, hey, this is great, we're fucking welcome here. And they call their family.
Oh my god, there's not a cartel beating down my doors.
And more people come. And like, that's the second, third, fourth, and fifth order consequence.
And guess what? That free ride's about to end because now Mayor Eric Adams is a right-wing lunatic because he doesn't think his right to shelter laws should protect the illegal immigrants that he welcomed to his fucking city for years.
Well, it wasn't so much him.
I'm sorry. It wasn't him. Yeah, it was, who was the mayor before Eric Adams?
I can't remember.
I'm
not
not
a New Yorker.
to know, but yeah.
It was that broad. Oh no, I'm thinking of the governor.
You're thinking of Chicago.
No, I'm thinking of the governor. Kathy Hochul. Yeah, I'm not I'm not up.
Cuomo.
I'm not up on my. No, Kathy Hochul was the chick that took over for Cuomo when he got ousted for like touching chicks' asses.
Yay, he's Italian. Let's grow up women and kiss them.
Hey, gabagool. I'm allowed to say that. I'm getting married this Saturday, and my wife is Italian, so I'm allowed to say
I don't know if you're allowed to just say that because you're married into the Italian race.
It's like is that like saying I have black friends?
I was gonna say I have a lot of black family, and I'm not allowed to just spout off the N-word.
So Bell's actually Italian. He's allowing it.
My argument doesn't go away. If Bell was black and he was my friend, he goes, yeah, Corey, it's okay. You can say the N-word. I'm still not gonna fucking say it. That's a really good point, Bell.
Bell was able to get in one transmitted message throughout this podcast. Oh, we have a message coming in from Bell. We're actually starting a GoFundMe to get Bell's internet fixed. He no longer has. We at least need to upgrade him from dial-up to DSL. Would you agree?
He's got some DSLs. Oh, Bell.
Was that an Italian joke?
God damn it. No.
He's laughing. I can see him in the screen below
yes.
here.
Then yes.
Good. Oh, God. Fuck. I'm crying. I forgot what the hell we were talking about.
Oh,
Kathy Hochul or something?
York,
I don't remember.
New York. Like New York going from we're a sanctuary city to get these immigrants out of here within a year.
Oh, and that's what's interesting too, right? Because so Eric Adams has like he's taking some shit for this, right? Like you know, we have to do something about this immigration problem. Like I don't really like and don't really care how hold on. Don't really care how it's fixed, but like Eric Adams, he can't fucking do anything because it's in the state constitution that he has to take these people in. So it's kind of out of his hands, other than for him to be like, okay, somebody up in Albany here, we got to figure out how to fix this now.
Well, I think it's a city decree.
Understood, but no, it's in the state constitution. The whatchamacallit
the consent decree.
Yeah. No.
The right to shelter.
The right to shelter. Yes.
Okay, then I have another one for you. You ready?
No, but I'll live with it.
So this one goes up to San Fran, West Coast, East Coast.
Well, I haven't heard this one yet. I'm interested. Let's go.
So in San Francisco right now, you know, they have their the welfare recipients and stuff like that, but it's getting bombarded. They have a lot of people there on welfare and stuff like that. And it's a drug rampant city because I don't know. Hey, Bella, can you Google if San Fran decriminalized drugs? Because I know drug use out there is rampant and things like that. And it's actually weighing on their welfare system. So San Fran is now, which, oh, I should have set this up differently. Like between the four, like, was it a right winger or a left winger who proposed this policy? Because right now in San Francisco, they have a drug rehab program. And the drug rehab program is for welfare recipients in San Francisco and is a new proposal by Mayor London Breed and some supervisors. It aims to increase accountability and help people with substance use disorder to get the treatment they need. It would require people who want to access county-funded cash assistance to be enrolled in treatment and services, or else they would lose their benefits. The proposal has sparked some controversy and opposition from other supervisors and advocates who argue that it is punitive, ineffective, and costly. Do you remember that was a right-wing talking point for years? Drug test the welfare users.
Yeah.
And the left called them monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, racists.
And now one of the most liberal cities in the country is swamped by people who have drug use issues on welfare. Hey, Brian.
Are we so by bringing that up, are we now right wingers because we're We're bringing that point to the table.
Pointing out the hypocrisy of the left, of like the liberals who
Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter because
the
everybody's
moral
right.
supremacists.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Right, Nice goes, yes. But wait, there's more. So where you see, the liberals moving more right on different things, we have Governor Abbott from Texas, who is introducing a bill to ban vaccine mandates for both public and private businesses, and is a legislation he proposed in October 2023 as part of the third special session agenda. It would prohibit any entity in Texas from requiring COVID-19 vaccination for employees or consumers who object to it for any reason of personal conscience, based on a religious belief, or for medical reasons, including prior recovery from COVID-19. The bill is based on an executive order that Abbott issued earlier, but it would make it permanent and enforceable by law. The bill has passed the Texas Senate and the House, but with some minor changes that need to be reconciled before it can be sent to the governor for his signature. The bill has also faced some opposition and criticism from various groups, such as business groups, who argue that the bill would interfere with their right to protect their workers and customers, and that it would create a confusion and liability issues. Healthcare groups who warn that the bill would endanger public health and safety, and that it would undermine the efforts to end the pandemic, which the pandemic's over. I don't understand why people are still saying the pandemic is on. And legal experts who question the constitutionality and legality of the bill, and who say that it could be challenged in court by the federal government or private parties. So that last part, that's the reason why I'm saying that the right goes righter.
I was going to say, because that just sounded super fucking libertarian to me. And so,
no, I would argue differently,
make your point.
Because a private business is private. If you have a business and it's private, you get to dictate what happens with your business, not the government.
Yeah, not to mention
the government to encroach on a private business's freedom to operate.
Yeah, but you could also make the right to work argument. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, no, this trumps the right to work argument, because the right to work argument is, well, you could just quit your job. If a company is mandating in their private bylaws of their company, just like worker policies,
yeah, but then
have so many sick days.
I guess I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, because if you have a multitude of corporations that decide that they want to mandate vaccines within their, in order to work for them, right? And they're all, I don't know why, but maybe they're all, captured by liberal media or whatever the hell it is, whatever the thing is that makes them decide that we now have to mandate vaccines.
Then let it go through the proper channels of the courts.
I mean, yeah, sure. I guess that's fair. I'm just,
you know what I mean? It's unconstitutional. It could be argued that it's unconstitutional, sure. But
I guess the libertarian, I guess the libertarian argument would be like that libertarians, they I guess what they would say is the only duty of the government is to protect people's liberties, right?
And private property, yeah.
And private property and liberties. So is this not legislation that would be protecting the liberties of the people by saying you cannot mandate?
No, vaccines? Because you're taking away freedom of choice. That's daddy
from
government
who?
Making the choice for you.
From who?
The
you can still go get the vaccine if you're working there.
You can, but if you're like, again, I'm anti-mandate. But just because I'm anti-mandate, the alternative of forcing everyone else to have my personal views is just as wrong as someone else forcing everyone else to have the views that I'm against.
See, this is an interesting one, because I think there's a decent libertarian argument on both sides of it. I think you're making one and I'm making the other.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But like, he's expanding the power of the government and encroaching on a private business as enterprise. And what's next?
while in my view, maintaining the liberty of the working man.
Sure. But telling businesses how to run their businesses, essentially. You know?
I guess. I don't know.
How many
I guess I don't
companies,
see it that
you
way.
know, like, I guess, like, yeah, no, I just, whether you're for it or against it, he's expanding the power of the government, of the executive branch.
And for all of you dickheads out there that think that Corey and I just jump on here and agree with each other all the time, here's an instance in which maybe we don't. But I see Corey's point. I think Corey sees mine. It's
I see your point.
Issues.
But like the blanket ban, like just do it for the public workers, and then just tell private businesses you're free to make your own decisions.
Actually,
that would be the most libertarian way to do it.
You actually, I'm gonna concede. I think you actually win this argument because there's no actual libertarian that runs a business that's going to mandate a vaccine. So,
right,
from that perspective, I guess you win.
There's not win or loss. It's just we're here to have the conversation, right? And but yeah, like you're taking away the private business to make that choice, and ultimately you're taking that choice. Well, I guess you're not taking that choice away from the worker, but you're taking that choice away from the private business to operate their company how they see fit.
I guess as it stands, I agree with Governor Abbott's decision here more than I would most. But I guess I see your point. I get it.
And then we're gonna get on to our boy DeSantis, who loves.
I guess to finish off, I don't know that I would call that moving further to the right. I guess is what I would say.
By expanding authoritarianism.
Well, yeah, but the left expands authoritarianism as well.
By moving to the right.
Not necessarily.
I know.
No, actually, you know what? You're right, because the way that they're engaging in authoritarianism is shutting down free speech, which I guess would be moving to the right. So yeah, you're right.
Forcing people to do stuff with their bodies like they claim the right does.
Yes, very fair. You're right. Nope, you got. Hey. Ding, round one. Corey wins this one.
And then DeSantis's visa policy that he proposed recently.
Yeah, this one's ridiculous.
DeSantis proposed to remove people with visas who protest is a part of his immigration policy that he announced in June 2023. He said that he would cancel the student visas of foreign nationals in the U.S. and deport them if they express support for groups like Hamas or participated in anti-American protests. Which anti-American is so goddamn subjective, and I hate policies
100%.
that are written.
Our show be considered anti-American.
DeSantis would want us shut down. He'd be like, "You two need to go back to Ireland." Like, I mean, I've been there before. That's where my grandpa.
I can't go there. I don't know anything about Irish politics.
I don't speak the language. I don't speak Irish. I speak American.
To a degree, that's true.
He said he would cancel the student visas of foreign nationals in the U.S. and deport them if they express support for groups like Hamas or participated in anti-American protests. Which anti-American protest is the most American thing you can do.
100%.
One of them. He also said he would revoke the visas of any foreign nationals who commit crimes or overstay their visas, which I get. That's fine. But he claimed that this would protect the national security and sovereignty of the U.S., but critics said that it would violate the free speech and due process rights of immigrants and students.
Here we go. Protectionist bullshit.
Yeah.
This idea.
Expanding the government over an idealistic protectionist society.
This idea
it's a utopia for him, but a dystopia for everyone else.
This idea that words are somehow harmful. Isn't that a
right-wing talking point?
A super, like, one of these goofy woke leftists talking point? Aren't words violence?
Yeah.
Is that what Ron DeSantis? Was that what Ron DeSantis is suggesting?
Yes.
That words are violence? Because that's kind of
microaggressions.
So here's the biggest issue with this, right? So like defenders of this have said things like, well, yeah, kids on student visas have they certainly have the right to free speech, but they don't have the right to be in the United States. And like, this is something that I'm actually going to give credit to a guy that we talk about on this show a lot that we really like, Brad Palumbo from Based Politics. Please, when you're done with us, check out their politics. They're fantastic. So Brad, on his latest episode, said that he had talked to some constitutional lawyers on this. Like, is there any constitutional ground to deporting these people? And the answer is not really. Yeah. Because the idea that they don't have the right to be Americans, or I'm sorry, that they don't have the right to be in America is true on its surface. Like, nobody, the point is, nobody has the right to a visa, right? Like, the United States is not required to give somebody a visa.
You're cracking a little bit, Dan.
Am I? I'm sorry. How are we now? We good?
Yeah.
All right. Nobody has the right to a visa. That's true. But once you receive that visa, it's much more difficult to take it away on these grounds. So, like, the idea that, like, you don't have the right to a visa is true, but once you receive that visa, you have every single right that an American citizen has. If you commit a crime, sure, your visa can be revoked. You can be deported. If you threaten to, I don't know, shoot a president or a congressperson, sure, visa's revoked. You're sent away. But once you have that visa and you are a lawful occupant of the United States, once you're here, you have every single fucking constitutional right that you have, Corey, that Bell has, that I have, and that includes freedom of speech, and that includes the right to be pro-Hamas. Yes, I'm sorry. You have the
You can vehemently
right
disagree with them, right? But they still have 100%. That right.
Yep.
What's interesting is, so these are two court cases that you and I have to follow because they're still in litigation. But Rojas versus Moore, it's a legal case that involves the First Amendment rights of immigrants. It was filed by Claudio Marcelo Rojas, an Argentinian immigrant and activist who was arrested and detained by ICE agents after he participated in a documentary that criticized ICE's practices. He claimed that ICE targeted him for his speech and violated his constitutional rights. So that case was dismissed by a district court in Florida, and then it was brought up to the 11th Circuit Court, and right now it is still going on. And then there's also another case of Najjar versus Ashcroft, which is a legal case that involves the First Amendment rights of immigrants. So there's like cases that are pending that will have huge implications on this exact conversation we're having right now. Because I have some bullet points like when it comes, because like what we're talking about right now.
Well, isn't that interesting? Before you get to your bullet points, isn't that interesting how these people on the right want to sit there and tout the Constitution up and down? All they want to do is like constitutional rights this, constitutional rights that. I don't know. I just find that interesting. And both sides are probably guilty of this. I can't think of an example on the left at the moment, but maybe somebody can throw one out there. This idea that constitutional rights matter to you as long as it supports your fucking opinion. As soon as they don't, throw them out the window. Anyway, Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. But does it apply to non-citizens who are in the U.S.? The answer is not simple. There's no clear rule that says whether the First Amendment applies to non-citizens or not. Different courts have given different answers depending on the context and the type of speech involved. Generally speaking, non-citizens who are lawfully present in the U.S. have the same First Amendment rights as citizens. They can express their opinions, join political groups, practice their religion, and petition the government without fear of censorship or punishment. However, there are some exceptions and limitations to this principle. For example, non-citizens who are in the U.S. illegally or temporarily may have less protection under the First Amendment than citizens and permanent residents. The government may restrict their speech or deport them if they pose a threat to national security, public order, or public health. Also, non-citizens who are outside the U.S. or seeking entry to the U.S. may have no First Amendment rights at all. The government may deny them the visas or admission based on their speech or beliefs.
Well, it just goes to what I just said.
Yeah, exactly.
That just goes to what I just said. Nobody has the right to a visa, but once you acquire that visa,
then you have the right to the First Amendment.
You are here lawfully in the United States. You have First Amendment rights. Period. Paragraph.
Additionally, some types of speech that are protected for citizens may not be protected for non-citizens. For example, non-citizens may not be able to claim the right to criticize the government, advocate for political change, or support unpopular causes without risking their immigration status or eligibility for naturalization. The government may consider such speech as evidence of disloyalty, subversion, or terrorism.
So here's what's interesting about that, because people bring this up all the time with various different amendments, and I always look at like the Constitution and the way that people view it, and I think the way it should be viewed is super closely. Pay attention to the language in the Constitution in each of those amendments, because the founding fathers, if they did one thing really, really well, and I understand like there have been amendments obviously since long after the founding fathers were gone, but particularly the Bill of Rights. Pay attention to the language in those Bill of Rights, because they did such an unbelievable job. And one of the things with all their flaws that I think the founding fathers did well is really making sure that every single word in that Bill of Rights was just absolutely gone over with a microscope. And what you'll notice is that most of those amendments in the Bill of Rights, they don't say anything about citizenship. And I think that is the way that it should be. If you are in this country lawfully, God damn it, that fucking Constitution should apply to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Those
you can't
laws
run
should
for
apply
president.
absolutely.
You can't do things like that, but
Sure.
absolutely.
If the Constitution doesn't say definitively that these rights or that these things within this amendment only apply to you if you're a citizen, then if you're here lawfully, I think any Supreme Court justice would agree with this, then it applies to you if you're here lawfully. If you're an illegal, then it gets a little more. Did I just say if you're an illegal? God damn it. I sounded like my boomer uncle there for a second. If you're here,
If you're one of them goddamn aliens,
if you're undocumented and you're here, then it gets a little bit more wishy-washy. And I think we had this discussion about the 14th Amendment as far as equal protection under the law and the way that verbiage is.
Oh yeah, Vivek trying to say that it was it didn't account for immigrants. It was only for.
But it does say, but it does say under the jurisdiction of, and it's like, well, how can you have a jurisdiction without them being here and being responsible? So yeah, it's pay attention to the Constitution and like really, really look at the language in it, because it's fucking brilliant and it's so well done.
So for examples of the left moving right to like 2005, 2010 Republican policies, and the right just going straight authoritarian.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing new. It's something I'm glad you brought it up though, Corey, because it's something that we haven't really discussed.
No, it goes be like Brigham. Keep one in your pocket. The Constitution.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do that, but if you do, more power to you. I don't know. I just, this has always been the case. Like if you go to almost anywhere else in the world, the Democratic Party of the United States is center right at best. Bernie Sanders, for fuck's sake, in 2016, if you had gone to Europe and discussed all of his policies, he was centrist at best. You know, so this idea that the Democratic Party is left wing, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. They're right. They're right wingers. They're absolutely right wingers, and the Republican Party is extremely right. And that's been the case. That's been the case for a long time. It's been the case probably since World War II. I don't know an exact date to put on it, but like when you think about leftists and you think about like what you see culturally that leftism is, it's not real. It's not real leftism.
Nope.
There are real leftists out there. There are real leftist speakers out there. I think, you know, the Fred Hampton leftists and Jimmy Dore, like these guys are legitimate. These guys are legitimate leftists. And when you listen to them, I don't always agree with these guys, but they bring up good points because they're real leftists. They're not this phony AOC leftist that brings up points that don't actually matter. Like
Yeah.
leftism has a place. Like actual leftism has a place.
It
in American
deserves a
politics.
spot in the conversation.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of them. I'm more libertarian. I think Corey is as well.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely like, I've given up on any sort of government telling me what to do. I need less of it. Get it out of my face.
What do you have next, Corey? You want to talk about this Trump supporter that went to jail?
Yeah. You want to talk about, okay, here's an example of leftism going straight authoritarianism. But yeah, real quick. So just to wrap up, those are 4 topics of like showing the super woke liberals picking up like 2005, 2010 Republican policies, and then Republicans just picking up straight authoritarianism.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think I fucked up.
Uh-oh.
Let's not worry about this Trump supporter at the moment. We got to go here. The RFK issue.
The issue of RFK.
The RFK Jr. issue. So I was able to pull up, if I can fucking find it here, that RFK, he's going to be the most interesting non-establishment party candidate, I would argue, since Ross Perot.
Yeah, especially in our lifetimes.
Well,
Ross Perot,
was,
in our voting lives.
I actually vaguely remember him. You see, this is how fucked up I am, Corey, in my political history here. So you said you didn't really get into politics until what? You said about 2016, maybe a little before that.
Till that orange man showed up.
That orange man getting bad. I remember. I was 8 years old. I remember the 1996 election. Now, this was Ross Perot was still involved in that election, but his big one was obviously 1992, when a lot of people accused him of being in because he was in the race. That's what got Clinton elected. You go back and forth on whether or not that's true. But Ross Perot was also, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, was also involved in the election in 96. Do you remember who the Republican candidate was that year, Corey?
In 96? Yeah, it was Bush. Bush Jr.
No, it was not.
No?
96? 96 was, I'll give you a hint, erectile dysfunction. Bell's racking his brain. Bell, you got it? I know who it is. I don't need you to look it up. Nope, that's not right. Bob Dole.
I'm listening to jokes from a 4-year-old. Bob Dole?
Bob Dole.
Yeah, I know who Bob Dole.
Yeah, he was the 1996 Republican candidate.
Oh, yes.
Bell just told us to fuck off.
Yeah, he did.
Bob Dole. Bob Dole
told you specifically to fuck off.
So, but like that's how far back like my memory of politics goes. I was fucking 8 years old, and I remember the 1996 presidential election. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Didn't Bush ran in that year, didn't he?
He might have, but he was knocked out early in the primaries if he did.
So I just remember like in 2nd or 3rd grade, and it being like the election, and we get those like those little like really, really skinny magazines. It was like Time Weekly or something like that for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure it had Bush Jr. and Clinton on it.
Nope. Maybe. I mean, he might have been involved, but Bob Dole was the Republican candidate in 1996. Bob Dole has ED. Anyway, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
That's a fun fact for you.
Bill
Clinton definitely did not have ED.
No, he did not. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is I would say the biggest, the most relevant independent candidate since Ross Perot in 1992, and then a little bit in 1996, but he'd kind of fallen off the way. That was my point, was that Ross Perot also ran in 96, but nobody remembers that part. So, RFK Jr. is, I think the point you wanted to make, Corey, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the candidate that might show that if either one of these establishment parties could actually produce a competent candidate, that they would vote for him. I think what you're trying to say is that he's proof of that. And I'll give you just this number to start with, and then you can go ahead, Corey. Early polling with RFK Jr. as an independent candidate is getting 14%. That's not an insignificant number.
No, that's not.
Doesn't mean he's gonna. He almost certainly won't win. That's a big fucking number.
He's halfway to what he needs to win in the U.S. in the U.S. presidential race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if he got to 35% or whatever. Yeah,
he's halfway there.
So anyway,
just under halfway there, but yeah, no. So I just find it interesting because here is RFK. He was running in the Democratic ticket, and you have a bunch of, and the Trump campaign is freaking out because he's pulling more votes from the Trump side than he is the Democratic side. And I think that's just evidence that if the Democrats actually came out with a decent fucking candidate, that they would pull a shit ton of independent votes.
Yeah, because we're at a spot right now where this is why I was so turned off when RFK Jr.'s family decided to tweet out about how dangerous it is that RFK Jr. is running
Democratic
as an independent.
stooges.
Dude, if you don't understand at this point that RFK Jr. running as an independent is worse for Trump than it is for Biden, you are not paying attention, because this is a man that can siphon off a little bit of the Republican vote. And it's one of those things that I've said for probably since we started this show. I came up as a Democrat. I am born of the left, but guess what? I understand that Republican voters, not necessarily Trump sycophants, okay, though that's a completely different breed of person, but Republican voters on average are a lot more open to outside than Democratic voters are. That's just the facts. It really is. They're a lot a run-of-the-mill Republican voter, Trump sycophants aside, a run-of-the-mill Republican voter would be a lot more open to a more centrist Democrat or an RFK-style Democrat than the opposite Democratic voter voting for a Republican. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, and I think this also pokes major holes in the whole mantra that all of Trump supporters are backwood racist hicks. Because here this guy is, he's a liberal, is coming out, and some of them are jumping ship from Trump to vote for RFK.
Yeah.
Who said he thinks that black people should get reparations, that federal money should be set aside to help the black community for what they've gone through and stuff like that.
Which I would disagree with.
Which is a whole topic of its own, yeah.
Which I would disagree with. I guess that makes me a racist. People are going to call me a racist now without actually.
That was for because I didn't feel like I had to sit here
without me actually expressing why I have my opinion. I'm automatically a racist. It's okay. It's fine. I'm a straight white male. I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah, you are. Remember that.
I'm such a piece of shit. I am the worst human being on earth.
So now you have two choices. You either embrace that or you let that guilt make you white knight.
What do I do?
Out of guilt for all the other black and brown people.
What do I do now? Am I supposed to just become Andrew Tate?
So you either become Andrew Tate or you become like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and wearing the Kunta Kinte cloth and take.
Are those my only options?
Yeah,
those are my only options.
Clearly.
I won't be here next week, not because I'm getting married on Saturday, but because I'm going to fucking kill myself tonight, because I would rather be dead than be associated with either of those.
And that's fine. You can do that, but it depends on what your suicide note says.
Oh,
on what side you laid on. Like, did you use a red bullet or a blue bullet?
Oh, should I say something about Israel in my suicide note?
Absolutely.
Should I say something about Israel and about child trafficking? Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
I can't win. I can't win. So it's like, no, fuck that. Now I'm not going to kill myself because
I'm just gonna stay alive even harder.
I'm just going to stay alive harder and vote harder.
I'm gonna vote even harder. Oh man.
Well, that settles it. I am the piece of shit on this show. We've settled it.
I obviously get along great with the black community. I'm wearing a Wu-Tang shirt.
Oh yeah, you've got black in your family. I've got black friends.
I love that. I love like what's worse, saying I have black friends or saying I don't have black friends.
Yeah, it's like what makes you more racist at this point in the world?
What does make you more racist? Having to get to that point where you have to, where you're in a position where you have to say, "Well, I have black friends."
My wife is black, or like my cousin is black,
or just straight up saying, "I have no black friends."
There's no winning. There's no winning in that scenario. You cannot win. You've already lost. If you've put yourself in a position where you have to say whether you do or do not have black friends,
just go home and
kill yourself. I mean, no, you're done.
No, we do not advocate opting out on this show.
Oh, what's the Bell? Find the suicide hotline number. We should we're probably obligated to throw that up there now.
Even if it's in jest, we really need to let people know that, hey, there is in no way ever.
He's looking. 988. 988. That's the suicide hotline number. Is 988? Yep. Okay.
Or did he misspell 911?
He's messaging us now because he can't get through.
He's sending a over.
Anyway.
But yeah, oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. Don't ever. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So always remember that. God damn it. Tell him.
Oh God.
Tell him.
We are so
I did,
canceled.
but his delay. He's just hearing it just now.
Bell is still here. By the way,
made this conscious decision. It was just shit on Bell's internet night tonight, I guess.
We are starting a GoFundMe for Bell. He needs to improve his internet. So please, when we send that out on our feeds, please donate and get Bell.
Because he can't donate to it because he just keeps getting a server error.
Some significant internet.
Oh, he's actually got Dan to do a spit take with bourbon. Dan, have you ever gotten bourbon up the nose? Oh man, Bell was there.
Never.
Once I did it.
I'll fight it off.
I was doing a big shot, and then I went like to cough, or someone said something funny, and I went and shot bourbon right at my nose, and it is 1 star. Burns too much.
1 star.
Shall we call it easier?
Shall we call it a night, Corey? Did we miss anything? I mean, we did, but did we miss anything important?
This poll, like I have some polls.
Oh, you got some polls. We can do the polls. I like the polls. Let's go.
Okay.
I have to piss like a racehorse, but that's neither here nor there.
Smokers. I'm gonna bring Bell into this because I'd like to get his take on some of this too.
No, he doesn't want to be in because his daughter's behind him.
Okay, well then we're gonna save the polls for next week.
All right. I'm not gonna be here.
Because I like it's fun when we get everyone in on it. It's not the same.
We dig it.
There's a magic in the camaraderie.
It's so funny. I'm looking at Bell's feed right now, and all I see is Lorelei over his shoulder. Bell says, "Unless you want to hear rocks smashing together, don't get me involved in the feed."
I don't know if he's talking about his internet or kid shenanigans.
Bell, are you there?
I'll never get tired of that.
That's great. I'm glad I decided to pull that audio. All right, yeah, we can call it a night. I will warn the people. I will not be here next week. I'm not looking for congratulations, but I'm getting married on Saturday.
Yeah,
So
Dan's
I'll
getting hitched.
I'll be on a
He's
little
joining the club of monogamy.
monogamy. It sounds like a city in northern Michigan.
I will wood on this table here. Monogamy.
I'll be drinking a lot of bourbon in Louisville with my lovely bride and our 2 dogs. So I mean Belle and Corey will be here next week. Depending on what's going on Wednesday, I might hop in, I might not, but don't plan to have me here. But if not, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Corey, tell the people where they can find us.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com, and we can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Subscribe yesterday. I don't know how you did it, but you're going to do it. For Bell the Body Snatcher on the 1s and 2s, he as always has been Corey Walsh.
He's been Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative, and until next time, we are out of here.